There is a fifth dimension, beyond that which is known to man. A dimension of sound.
For the 150th time, you are not getting out of here. Please let me finish the Count of Monte Cristo.
A dimension of sight.
No change at all.
What? I think I look fine.
A dimension of mind. Next stop, the Twilight Zone.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Fifth Dimension of Twilight Zone podcast. Also, is the week of Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving to everyone, because we will not be live or recording on Thanksgiving because I refuse to work on that day. I am once again your host, Nick. I am also here with Jacob and Triv, who are my co-hosts as usual. What's up, guys? Happy Thanksgiving to you guys. I know we're recording this like a week in advance, but I hope you guys are enjoying eating that turkey and all that good stuff. How you guys doing?
Gobble, gobble, bitches.
Yeah. I couldn't have said it better myself. You took my line.
Isn't there like a Night of Living Turkey or something like that? Horror film?
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. There's another turkey one with a killer turkey. I can't remember the name of it.
Thanksgiving 3.
Well, no, I mean like no Thanksgiving 2.
There is no Thanksgiving 2.
Thanksgiving 3. There isn't?
No. Thanksgiving 3 is about the search for Thanksgiving 2.
I need to watch these movies. This sounds amazing.
Watch my damn review.
I've seen
Watch it.
I didn't know you reviewed both of them. I've seen a review.
Well, I'm reviewing as we're doing this and eating turkey. My review of Thanksgiving 3 will be up.
Oh, that's why I haven't seen it.
That's exactly why you haven't seen it.
Makes sense.
We're talking from the future to the past,
I know,
but
that's
somehow
right.
to the future.
I've seen it now.
Yes.
I've seen it then. I haven't seen it now, but I've seen it then.
Can you believe I did the thing with the one thing and then that guy showed up and it was like, holy shit.
And that stuff.
I know.
Ooh.
You remember
I
I
know,
did the
and-
thing that won us a bunch of money. It was good times, I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, totally.
Who's on first? What's on
Yeah.
second?
Just remember, we're watching a Netflix show called You.
Oh God.
Get that joke?
Oh.
No, it's do you guys ever listen to a podcast and it's like, for instance, like a video game podcast or something, and something's been announced and they're kind of contemplating what it is, and you're screaming at them and you realize, oh, they recorded this like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's
Talking about, hey, I bet this is going to happen, and that's and blah blah blah, and right now we're here. It's like, no, you haven't. Why am I listening to this? This is outdated.
It's like you remember when Andrew Garfield and who was the guy that you wanted in Spider-Man show up in the Spider-Man movie?
Pete. What's his name?
Pete Hammond or something like that.
I think it's Peter. I've actually got it right here. Nicholas Hammond. Nicholas Hammond.
Oh
is
yeah,
Spider-Man.
yeah.
I think that
The OG Spider-Man.
Yeah, me and Nick were talking, Trev, that in the news, what do they call it? Far from, they're going home.
No Way
somewhere.
Home.
Yeah, no way home, whatever.
Some way home.
Some kind of home, but everybody's
No
like,
homo.
Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are gonna be in it. And I said they didn't have Nicholas Hammond in it. Would nobody know who the fuck he was? But he just show up in his old school Spider-Man costume. Everybody else is like hopping around with all the special effects, and he's like, I got like silly string.
I'm calling down a
was,
green screen building.
I was watching an old SNL episode, and there was it was with what's her face? She played Gwen Stacy in the Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone.
Oh, Emma Stone.
Oh, Emma's, yeah.
Yeah, she was hosting SNL, and they do a joke where they have Andy Samberg coming down from the rafters, and he has he's dressed as like a really bad Spider-Man costume, but he has this silly string on his arm, and it like doesn't even spray. It just kind of just like half-asses and stuff like that.
He's a dripper.
Yeah.
Not a shooter.
Oh man.
I want to see the Japanese Spider-Man guy. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, we talked about that too. I said they need to
Nice.
include him.
Nice.
This will be the real Spider-Verse.
Yeah, bitches.
So now that we're into a new year for the Twilight Zone, because this premiered January 1st, 1960, Free Love is just beginning, guys. Free Love is now coming into effect. It's not quite dead yet, so you can get out your bell bottoms and dance in the mud. That may be shit. We're not entirely sure at this point, but it's coming. And what's up?
We're also going to the moon.
Your crumb bums.
Exactly.
I'm gonna suck you in the push, you crumb bums. You can jump to the moon and get the dirty end of the stick. And with this one, we're gonna go with why you fingering me.
I just want to say that this is a great pick for the new year because like new year, new face.
Oh yeah, 4 of them. Man.
Yeah, take your pick.
Yeah, you got some new lexicon words in this or sayings in this episode too. So
yeah,
but
so expanding.
Exactly. So the episode we're talking about today is season 1, episode 13, lucky number or shit number 13, based on how you view this episode, which is called "The Four of Us Are Dying," which is a interesting name for an episode. I'm starting to question whether Rod Serling is high when he comes up with these titles for these episodes, but yeah. So it's directed by John Brahm, written by Rod Serling. Actually features the music from Jerry Goldsmith, which is kind of interesting. Production code 1733618, which is the 18th episode recorded in the series, and stars Harry Towns as Archhammer, Ross Martin as Johnny Foster, Phillip Pine as Virgil Steering, Daniel Gordon as Andy Marshak, which I'm assuming is the 4 characters of Archhammer.
Yep.
Because I watched this episode last night. Oh, is that who it is? And then of course his father is Peter Brocco. And so I have to ask you guys to start out this episode. Do you guys remember this episode before you watched it? Like, I know once again, Jacob, you haven't seen a lot of these episodes for a while, but do you guys remember this episode at all from your history of watching this series?
I don't. Usually with the few I've watched up to this point or rewatched, it's like there's usually something I'm like, I kind of vaguely sort of somewhat remember. This one, I don't remember shit about it. This was like, is this an episode I missed? I don't, but we'll get into why I think that may be in a little bit.
Yeah,
there's an episode you should have missed.
I remember seeing this one a couple times, like on marathons, but they were always kind of like, weird hours in the morning. So if you like woke up at like 2 a.m, this was the episode that was kind of airing then.
Gotcha.
On USA Up All Night.
Yes.
I remember those days staying up to watch. It's funny because it used to be like the Honeymooners and stuff like that, and now it's like Friends and Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
Exactly. What the hell happened? I remember when I was a kid, it was like Mr. Ed, Bewitched, Dick Van Dyke, and Dobie Gillis. Now it's like The Wonder Years and stuff like that. I'm like, I remember that show,
and that's the old one.
Yeah,
exactly.
I was like, I remember that when it was new. They've got like stuff that's in color. And I'm like, oh God, am I old now?
Well, we are currently in black and white. So what does that say?
This is an interesting episode because, I'm going to flat out say I'm not a fan of this episode, but we'll talk about it. But this is based off a short story, a story by George Clayton Johnson, who's actually really notable for writing the novel for Ocean's 11, Logan's Run. Oh, wow. He also wrote the film script for Logan's Run. And he wrote this. I guess this is his first Twilight Zone story by, but he has story bys for Execution, A Penny for Your Thoughts, The Prime Mover, A Game of Pool, which is a classic episode, Nothing in the Dark, Kick the Can, and 90 Years Without Slumbering. I don't recognize at all. And then of course The Intruder. He wrote The Intruder with Roger Corman. Or no, he played a villain in that movie by Roger Corman. So
nice.
I didn't know he wrote Logan's Run. I love Logan's Run.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I love the original Ocean's 11. If you get the chance, Jacob, if you want more, if you want a super dose or super dose of like this kind of verbiage, that's the movie to watch.
11. I've seen Ocean's 11.
Yeah,
the original. All those Sammy Davis Jr. and Frank Sinatra and everybody else that was in those. Those were just laden.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is Rat Pack.
Yeah. The Rat Pack. All the Rat Pack stuff is all love it.
Robin and the Seven Hoods was better, but this one was cool to see Vegas at that point. So anyway, random. Moving on.
No, I actually have never seen that movie, so I feel sad.
I will treat you to it.
Maybe one day. So with that said, getting into the kind of plot, it starts out with actually I think some of the coolest Twilight Zone shots with all the neon signs. I don't know, there's a particular name for that where you see a guy walking down, all the neon signs pop up and like against the black, but it's like a really cool kind of effect where this guy Archhammer is walking down through the different areas of the city where I guess it's New York or something like that. But I hate to do this to you, Jacob. Like, this is where we start out with the opening narration, and
God.
this might take about 3 hours. So I'll let you read it so we can get it out of the way. But it is quite long. It's probably the longest thing he's ever done, at least to this point. So, Jacob, have fun with it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's get into this thing. This is a hell of an opening narration.
Breathe deep.
His name is Arch Hammer. He's 36 years old. He's been a salesman, a dispatcher, a truck driver, a con man, a bookie, and a part-time bartender. This is a cheap man, a nickel and dime man, with a cheapness that goes past the suit and the shirt, a cheapness of mind, a cheapness of taste, a twardy little shine on the seat of his conscience, and a dark room squint at a world whose sunlight has never gotten through to him. But Mr. Hammer has a talent, discovered at a very young age. This much he does have. He can make his face change. He can twitch a muscle, move a jaw, concentrate on the cast of his eyes, and he can change his face. He can change it into anything he wants. Mr. Archie Hammer, jack of all trades, has just checked in at $3.80 a night with 2 bags, some newspaper clippings, and a most odd talent and a master plan to destroy some lives. So the episode's over now because that was the entire runtime. Jesus.
Damn it, exposition.
Yeah, exactly. So as we can tell, this is a very cynical story that's going on because it's about a man who's basically, like you said, a con artist who has the ability. Apparently, this episode was originally titled Rubber Face, which I thought would have been a better title than The Four of Us Are Dying.
It was 4 of Us Were Dying. What I read, I could be wrong, but my understanding was that was the original title of The 4 of Us Were Dying. But when not Rod Serling, but George Clinton Johnson took it to some studio head, they said, "Yeah, we'll make it," but he like crossed the name out and put Rubber Face. And
That's such a thing, considering the characters and what happens in this. That's such like a gangster way. Like it sounds so gangster.
Like Dick Tracy character.
Oh, totally. It's
they
like
call
a
me
pickle
Rubber
puss.
Face. Yeah, Pickle Puss and Rubber Face. I think there's a Jim Carrey movie called Rubber Face, where they call me Rubber Face. I don't remember. I remember seeing the box at Blockbuster Video. Anyway,
yes, it's something like, you're right. There's something like that. I think you're right. But the thing that happens during that narration is, of course, Arch Hammer's like they pan away, they come back, he's a different character. They pan away again, he's a different character. They're showing off, in essence, the 4 characters from the episode. But I have to ask, after listening to that narration, did you guys pretty much know what was going to happen? Like, did you kind of, this isn't like last week's episode where, you could have a little bit of difference in what could happen. But do you guys feel it's like a very straightforward episode?
I feel like they didn't like the way that the narration goes when it talks about destroying lives. I went in because I it's been a long time since I've seen this. I remember seeing a lot as a kid, but it's been quite a while. I expected more damage. Like the last half of the episode didn't go at all the way I thought it was going to go. Like obviously where it's going to end, but I expected more life ruinage and it really wasn't.
I'll be honest with you. About halfway through this narration, as it was just going on and on and on, I checked it. I was just like, what is he talking about? I was just like, what's going on the screen? Because usually the narration is like during an establishing shot or something. And by the time we get into the characters, we might see them for just a second, but usually the narration ends at that. No, like we're into the episode and Rod Serling's still going on. And I love me some Rod Serling, but Jesus, I was like, what is he read? He's just reading a phone book at this point. I was just like, I lost interest in what he was saying. And I was paying attention to this guy who checked in at a cheap motel at $3.80 a night.
With 2 bags and a bunch of newspaper clippings and a rather eccentric talent.
Yeah.
I felt like Serling went off into the thesaurus again in this week. Like he, instead of getting into the booze, he was getting into a thesaurus.
That's actually pretty funny
about this, all of his opening narrations, but this one as well. The one thing I do love about his narrations is when he won't just say, like, I feel like most people, if they're writing or narrating, they'll say like, his name is Arch Hammer, he's 36 years old. They would skip all the descriptive parts and they say, this is a cheap man. But no, I love how he's always like, he's been a salesman, a dispatcher, a truck driver, a con man, a bookie. I'm like, he goes through his life history. But I like
Yeah.
that. Everything after that, I'm like, I don't care. But I
Yeah.
always like that about how he describes people. He describes people in ways that we all understand. Like, this is things he's done. This is the type of person he is.
You know what's funny about the opening narration, and it's a lot of his opening narrations? He's basically doing a character descriptor for a script, like an actual script. So all this stuff would be stuff you wouldn't hear about. It would just kind of explain who the man is, kind of who they're looking for as a character, like an actor to play the part. So what Rod Serling is doing is they've written all this dialogue out, all this action or character traits, and they've allowed us to get kind of an explanation. But the problem here is, like unlike a lot of episodes, it goes into so much detail that it almost kind of ruins the kind of thrust of the episode. And like, yeah, it's pretty, I don't know, it's pretty weird to me, to be fairly honest.
Well, a lot of his opening and closing narrations do that. It is like he's reading the script. He's had some, he's like city street, night, car accident. I'm like, he just read straight up from the screenplay.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Trev, what were you saying?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I thought it was interesting, and I guess I'm gonna give the question to you guys. So the past 2 weeks, the people that were talked about were specifically listed as 36. And a lot of his characters kind of fall into that late 30s, early 40s range. At the time, Rod Serling was also that same age, and I found that really interesting. Just the fact that he's kind of like, do you think he's talking about elements of himself at all? Or is he just talking from experience of, I'm 36, I know a guy that kind of behaves this way?
I think you write what you know.
True.
So he knew about being 36, I guess. I did see something interesting. I guess it's Twilight Zone related, but it's about him on Veterans Day, which was this past week as we're recording this. He was a veteran. He went to war. And apparently one of the reasons he started writing and he took writing courses was because he had like severe PTSD or something. I don't think they classified that back then.
No.
But he had lots of issues from the war. And he picked up writing because he felt like that was his outlet. And that's what saved him. And that's like all this writing and all the show and all that, it stemmed from that traumatic experience he had in war.
That is cool.
Well, yeah, you can definitely see that. I mean, look at the characters he writes. A lot of them are very conflicted characters. A lot of them are very flawed individuals. If you think about the people that are coming back from war, they're people that with a lot of, like as you say, PTSD problems. And the thing about the last 2 episodes is he's either talking about himself or he's talking about people that he's mad at, like you said, or he's worked with, or maybe somebody from the studio system that's pissing him off. It's not entirely sure, but he's been a salesman, a dispatcher, truck driver, con bookie, bartender. Did he go on like a road trip with somebody and just all these people pissed him off? He's like, I'm gonna put them all in one episode,
Well,
last episode was definitely because somebody pissed him off.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely no doubt there. Originally this was scheduled to be just like one person, but with all the makeup they would have had to have done, it would have exceeded their time allotted to be able to film one episode, so they just went with 4 different guys.
It was like something like he would have been in makeup or in the makeup chair or whatever longer than he would have been filming. So they back then, nowadays they'll do that. They'll be like, oh yeah, every morning 5 hours in the chair for 20 minutes of shooting or something. But back then they were like, nope, we don't do that. We'll let you fall off a crane in the desert.
We'll let you be hit by a car.
Exactly. Can you imagine if Rod Serling had the budgets and the stuff to work with today, like CGI, how different the show would be?
Well, it's fun though. It's funny you say that. Like Drew just said, I don't know if it'd be better, but because like you mentioned a minute ago, how the effect, if it's even effective, just camera work. I'm with you. I did not think this was a great episode, but I thought it had some technical attributes about it that I really liked. Yeah. You mentioned the walking down the street with the signs and everything. I thought all the city street stuff, all those scenes, well, most of them, in the end it gets a little bit more traditional, but a lot of that stuff looked really neat. And I was like, okay, that's real creative. And it starts with a hell of a Dutch angle. I mean, like the show starts and it was like, whoa, okay. and
the mirror shot too.
Yeah, well, and that's what I was getting at, is the shots of him changing, like in the mirror. In the end, it was just, compositing and fading. But the one how it like had you in the mirror and he'd like go down and follow his hand and he'd have a cigarette. It was the same hand and it would come up and it was a different face. I thought that was all really well done. I was like, they just got the effect that nowadays they would have used CGI and it would have cost, $1 million for the 10-second shot or whatever, changing these different people.
And it would have looked like shit.
Yeah, and it would have. I mean, it may have for CGI looked good, but it just wouldn't have really. It wouldn't have piqued your interest. It wouldn't have made you take notice. This, I was like, that's really creative. They've got people just. You could tell there's just people moving and all this, and probably this isn't his hand coming to his mouth and all that. The technical aspects that they did there, like the technical prowess on hand here, I thought was really good. The story, not so
Yeah,
much.
agreed. I mean, because they just had like whoever the cameraman was, they had him going up and down to do the shaving, and they just replaced the guy like in the quote unquote mirror, I think.
Oh,
Well,
okay,
I think
yeah.
it's a two-way mirror. I think it was like the reflection was just of the other actor. I think
Yeah,
it
could
may
be.
have, yeah.
Kind of like Terminator 2 with Sarah Connor. and
Yeah, exactly.
the head thing.
As you can tell, we're deflecting from the actual story because the story's not that great. But this episode also uses a set from another episode. I think at least the wherever the mobster, gangster, whatever lives. I think it was used in like 1,000 other Twilight Zone episodes. But
Oh yeah,
It looks familiar.
yeah.
exactly. But if we are to get into the story, the first segment is him walking into the nightclub. He impersonates a trumpeter called Johnny Foster, and there's a woman named Maggie who is Foster's girlfriend. It was fine. It basically is. I don't. This is where I start to get like questionable what the actual plot of this point of this episode is, because he walks in there. He's talking to the girl. I mean, is he planning on sleeping with her? What is the point to his character? Is he just going in there to break the girl's heart again? Because then it goes into like, some other stuff where he like runs out and then the trumpeter guy recognizes him. And I don't know. Like, what do you guys feel about that? Does it make any sense to you at all? I mean, am I missing something? Because it doesn't make any sense to me what's going on at this point.
I got the idea that because he just had all these pictures of people. So they're like pictures he found in the newspaper. So all he knows is what they look like. He knows nothing else. So he walked into this place. I guess he knew that the guy played there.
Mhm.
And this girl pops up. So what was I'm with you. What was the reason for going there? He knew the guy played there. What was he going to gain? He's a con man. I get that. But what was he going to gain from going to this place where the guy used to play? I doubt he could play the trumpet. So it's not like, oh, come on in and do a gig and get some money or something. I'm like, but then, okay, fine, whatever. Suspend disbelief for a little bit. He runs into the girl that he used to, well, the other guy dated. He starts talking to her. But then I really start to think, and it may be either I think this is one of the reasons when I first started realizing this probably isn't the best episode, because I was thinking of things like this. If I'm not suspending disbelief, if I'm not just in the episode and I start to nitpick things. And I gotta say, he knows what they look like. How does he know what they sound like? And how does he change his voice if he does? And how does he know all the details? These details he knows about them that aren't in the paper, just about them and him, personal details. How does he know this stuff? But he's talking to people at certain points about details that he should know. But then other times he doesn't know. Like we'll find out later on, there's a plot point where he doesn't know shit. He's like, who the hell are you? And I'm like, a while ago, you knew stuff about who you were impersonating. Now you don't.
Well, I think the first two were planned. So Virgil and Johnny, I think those were both ones that, because those were the newspapers on the table were specifically of those two.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that he probably did his research. Like
Yeah,
the
that might be
first
right.
chick, I'm assuming like, because he goes out and does that whole almost soliloquy about how, oh, you know what? I've never had someone love me like this. I'm gonna lead her on and stuff. I don't think, I mean, I'm sure that there's intention behind it beyond anything that's decent, but I think it was also a case of, you know what, she loves me, okay, great, we're gonna do this. I'm sure he probably did some more additional research.
Yeah, that might be it. Might
The
be like
second guy, there was a lot of shit in there that there's no way he could have known that unless he was in with something like that, which clearly he wasn't.
Yeah.
Well, this is where we get our first lexicon, and it's when the Maggie says, I think Maggie says a room full of buckets.
Oh, I missed that.
I
missed that. What is the meaning behind that?
because she was talking about something about crying and how she had a room full of buckets of tears or something.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think
I'll take it. I'm adding that.
well, there's also he threatens him. My cut is out for a cold swim. I think that's what it says. My cut is out for a cold swim.
My cut is out for a cold swim.
Yeah, he says that to Pinnell. When we'll get that in a second.
The mobs. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
When he's talking about his cut.
His cut, like his job. Yeah.
Okay, I guess.
So
I just thought it was hilarious that he charged interest on getting shot. thought that was pretty good.
But after this scene, the trumpeter or the whatever the guy runs out, and of course Arch Hammer has changed his image, I guess you could say, his like body or whatever. And it next goes to, if I miss anything, let me know. But
real quick,
it next goes
to the fact that he runs out, and then this is in multiple cases. He runs out, the person is right behind them, and then he turns, like the person chasing him turns him around, sees that it's not him, and they're automatically like, oh, well, clearly you're not the person that I'm looking for, and then they just like leave. I would have had more questions for each of those people.
Right, and the suit's the same and everything. And it's like, oh, we're just gonna walk away, because even though you had the same exact suit when you walked out, oh no, that's not how this works.
I mean, to be fair, everybody was wearing suits back then.
Yeah, even Rod Serling.
Yeah, I'm so happy.
That's true.
Every time I got up and left, I'd have to wear a suit. I wore a suit for years at a job. I'm not looking forward to just, hey, I'm going to go to the grocery store. Let me get my suit and my hat on. Screw that. I go in pajama pants and a sweatshirt and flip flops.
Nice.
People of Walmart, mother.
As long as you know what, if you're wearing pants, you're overdressed for Walmart.
Exactly.
If you have them on, they got to be hanging down a bit so you can see my ass.
But he next turns himself into Virgil Steering, who of course was murdered. This one makes more sense because this guy's he wants to extort money and stuff like that, so it makes more sense to the first thing. Which if they had the woman Maggie in the later part of this, like maybe he convinced her to go away with him and she showed up, but she just disappears through the rest of the episode. I kind of think the segment's fine because, you know, there's a guy, this Pinnell, who's I think the head gangster or whatever, and he's extorting money, and he finds, you know, the cash in the envelope in the desk and threatens him and stuff like that. And, you know, of course Pinnell sends the men after Arch as he runs out of the room, and they chase him into an alleyway, of course, and he's changed his appearance because of the whole picture he sees of the boxer. That's what I was talking about. Like the two guys look at Arch and they're like, oh, it's a different guy, and they kind of walk away slowly. But like, for instance, like that stuff, do you feel that was much better? Like, I'm gonna like go in segments, but how do you guys feel about that portion?
I love the line, tubes or TV tubes are hard to replace, but a good beer is relatively cheap.
40 cents.
I also, yeah, I know 80 cents now. I also want to I made an observation, probably it doesn't matter, but that is a cheap ass TV. He barely touched it and it just like exploded.
Yeah.
I mean, granted,
well, that was TVs of the late 50s.
Yeah, they were like as fragile as light bulbs. Yeah, that I thought that segment was fine. The first one, I was like, all right, I don't know what's going on here yet. I mean, I get what's going on, but I don't know what the hook is going to be. But, you know, it's Twilight Zone, so I'm sure it's going to be something. Let me pay attention to everything. And then the next one happens, and you're right, it was like disjointed. It was like it was the same shtick, but it's like, what happened to that? What purpose did that stuff in the beginning serve besides showing he's just a con man? I don't know, but now we're with this. That was more interesting, of the whole playing as a dead guy and wanting his cut and all that.
I feel like he was going down a list of, okay, you know, get a girl, get the money, and I don't know what he had planned next, but I don't know. That was kind of the thing. So I did enjoy how he was like, you know, panicking about trying to find a face, like the fact that he didn't carry something with him that allowed him to change his face.
Yeah, he couldn't like I guess he had to concentrate on the picture. He couldn't like just think of one. But we say that, but first of all, why can't he just change back to his regular face? But anyway, we say that, but when he walks out of the barn, the trumpet guy's coming after him, and he's like, he knows that he's like, oh shit, and he goes out, he instantly changes to somebody else. But then when those guys are chasing after him, maybe it was more high stress moment. I don't know.
Well, and if he's been doing it like all his life, which I'm assuming he's had the skill all his life, wouldn't it be like
at a young
blinking?
age.
Right. Wouldn't it be, thank you, Rod Serling. Wouldn't it be like blinking? Like it's just something you do?
Yeah, you would think.
That's the problem with this episode. This episode doesn't know what it's doing from a story standpoint, what it's trying to do as a plot standpoint. It's like, we'll go into the next point. So Hammer sees a poster of boxer Andy Marshak, and he changes it into his face. And some reason, somehow, I guess, either his father put up the picture or something like that, but his father is running a newspaper stand in the middle of God knows what time of night it is. I don't know. It's black and white. So, and you know, his father like recognizes him, but then he's pissed at him, and then he like, you know, I don't know.
Basically,
It's so
son, you
weird.
ruined your family's life. You ruined that girl's life. Put off your mother, go die in hell or something.
Yeah. And then what it
I
ends up doing, I was like, is that gonna
I
happen?
just I just don't I just don't think Marshak would ever come back if he's gone away. It's such a weird moment. It's like Marshak just happens to be at the right moment. His father just happens to be there. It's like almost he has like amnesia or some shit. I don't know. It's
Lots of
I,
conveniences.
yeah, it's a convenience to get him to the hotel with the detective.
Yeah. Well, and why did he check in under knowing that he was wanted for stuff? Why did he check in under his own name? Why didn't he like have an alter ego and just, I don't know.
Yeah, the stuff with the detective, I totally forgot about that. The detective just shows up. And that was
Yeah.
a really weird, out of place scene that just happened. I mean, I guess they needed to get him out of the hotel, but I don't know. That whole scene just seemed really forced and odd and weird. And the detective, I mean, it's like he just came in. He's like, all right, grab your coat. You're under arrest. Come on. Like we've done this before.
Yeah, well, I was gonna ask you I skipped over like where the act break happens, which I think it happens right after the Phil Pinnell stuff. But I gotta ask you, like, at this point, did you guys just kind of give? I at this point I gave up on the episode, but did you guys give up on the episode? Were you still committed to
At the
like
halfway point?
intrigued by? Yeah,
Or-
at the halfway point.
At that waypoint, I was pretty okay, but the last half just
Mm.
the first half felt sort of like a Twilight Zone episode, but the last half just didn't.
I wasn't down for any of it. I mean, from the beginning, something seemed off, and then like as it went on, it just didn't get better. I mean, I've seen it was the idea is neat, the person that changes their face, and we've seen it a bunch of times since then. I may have seen it before then, but we've definitely seen it a bunch of times since then. But its execution was just kind of it's like there was no all the episode had was okay, we've got this guy, he could change his face. Okay, that's it. That's fine. There's always something someone can do or some weird thing, but then there has to be more. What happens as a result of that? Which yes, something happens, but nothing interesting really happens. There's no issue or thing that comes up. There's no conundrum. There's no question throughout it. We just know this guy can change his face. He walks around and he fools in people's lives, and then the end happens, and you're like, it didn't seem like Twilight Zone to me. It just seemed like a neat idea that was half an idea. It was half baked, and it's just been done a lot better since then.
So as you guys have already talked about, Hammer runs away from the old man who's going to come back, or Andy's father who's going to come into effect later on, and this is when a detective comes in to pick. It says in the Wikipedia, a detective comes by to pick him up for questioning. So once again, this leads back to the first part of this episode. Where the hell did the detective find this guy? Has he been following him like ever since he's been like? I don't know. Like there's points where he's like he's a convict, but sometimes he's not a convict. Sometimes he is. It's just where the hell did the detective come from? Yeah, you guys have talked about this, but it's so ridiculous.
It seemed like they were friends.
Yeah,
like they knew each other.
Yeah.
Or had run across each other's paths, like they'd played cat and mouse across it. I'm still caught up with the fact that he used his real name. If it's that big of a deal, why use your real name? That just it feels so cocky.
Why use your real face? Why not be somebody else? And then he comes in and just be like, oh, they gave me a wrong room key, or I'm the bellhopper. I don't know. You can change your face. Why are you using your regular face when the cops are coming in? Right. And he stood behind the door like some kind of creeper. And the guy's like, yeah, you make a habit of standing behind doors. He's like, when somebody's coming in uninvited, I do. Why you fingering me?
You know what this kind of felt like? Like when any movie pulls out like that one really awesome weapon, but they use it once and then they never use it again.
Mm-hmm.
Like this, for all of the power that, or all the ability that he had, like he used it a lot, but he didn't use it smartly. It kind of felt in that same realm.
Or interestingly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It almost feels like he only has a limit of 4 people he can do like per day or something like that. And then like he has to pay like, if you're wanting to play a iPhone game or Android game, you have to pay money to, get more characters. It feels like he has to pay more money to get
he needs
more
DLC.
faces.
There you
Yeah,
go.
exactly.
He would have more. He's on the wrong platform. He only gets like certain platform specific faces.
There you go. He gets the free ones that come with the demo.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
Play
But
Raid
they-
Shadow Legends, by the way, everybody.
That's a YouTuber plug right there. Holy shit.
But he's taken down by the detective who's taking him down to the police station, and then they do the whole I don't know if it's Benny Hill or whatever, but they do the whole thing where they're running through they're running quickly around. It's like an elf when he runs through the revolving door really quickly and changes his face and stuff like that, and all of a sudden the detective.
Do you think that
What's that?
intersected with Perchance to Dream, where people were
Maybe.
coming in and out of the rotating door?
I mean, you're right.
Yes.
That part was like it went from being a fairly serious. I mean, the majority of this episode was pretty straight laced and serious to like, what is this? This is his plan to get away from the cops. It's glass. You can see who's right in front of you. His plan is to just go around this thing like a Saturday morning cartoon and pop out the other side and be like, I don't know. He went that way. And
The detective goes for it. But to close out the episode, because now we're actually near the end of the episode, he changes himself back to Andy. Does he change himself back to Andy, I think, or something like that?
Yeah, he goes
Yeah,
through the
get away
door
from
and
the
then he
cop.
comes out as Andy, and then
Yeah,
he runs
his-
across his dad.
Well, yeah, the father's just standing there with a gun, just waiting for his son to come out of the hotel or some shit. And he points the gun and shoots it at Arch, and Arch dies. And all of a sudden the faces change. And it's like, I mean, did the father see him go into the hotel, or I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but the father's just there with the gun and he's pissed at his son and he shoots his son. And I'm assuming he's not going to go to jail because nothing makes sense in this world that is Arch Hammer's story. So
there's a cop
have to-
right there. There's a cop
Yeah.
right there that just came out looking for him. Oh, a gunshot.
I don't
It's
know.
all right.
But like this ending, literally, did the father see him wanting it? I mean, it doesn't make it, nothing makes sense. Like the father can't have seen his son walk into the hotel. Is he just hoping that one moment he'll see his son walking back and he has a gun? And I don't know. What do you guys think? Which I'm rambling here. So
like I said a minute ago, I think that the idea, even the idea of like the father killing him because he thought it was somebody else, I get that's their twist. Wasn't a very good one, but all these things, these aspects, these ideas, they're fine, they're cool, they could be put together in a cohesive, interesting story. This just wasn't it. It's the execution here. It's not even the ideas, but the execution is just not good. This is bar none, in my opinion, bar none, this is the worst episode I've seen so far, and I feel like this one's it is very lazy, and I feel like this episode is going to be close to the bottom even when we get to episode 156 or whatever.
Gasp! Revelations.
You know how we said, I think me and Nick had said this earlier off of air, but we each week, you guys said it before I was here, and we said it when I was here, we said it when I came on before I was regular. The worst Twilight Zone episode is still a great regular show episode. This show makes me question that, or this episode makes me question that, because this episode was
exactly
not good.
Yeah,
I mean,
and the thing is, it's got some great technical aspects. There's some
Yeah.
cool stuff.
Yeah, there
And
is.
like you
That-
said, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no. Finish what you're saying.
Oh, I'm just gonna-
I know where I'm going.
I'm just gonna say I think that like Jake said, there's some there are pieces that would be cool if they were utilized. I mean, the idea of it's great, but it's just everything else just falls flat. It's like, oh, they got an idea and they figured that would be enough to drag it along and make a decent episode out of it. It feels like a filler episode and not a good one.
Yeah, I think the story, even the basic story, is fine and could have been interesting enough to be a decent episode, but it just, the way they convey it, the way everything about it, and I agree, technically, not even the whole thing, but especially the beginning, the first third of the episode, it's got some really cool technical aspects to it, but that's it, nothing else.
Well, that's the thing I have is the one thing I can never complain about, even with 60mm Shrine, never complain about, is the technical prowess of these episodes. They're some of the best things on the market when it comes to what they're trying to go for on a shot level, what they're trying to go for on a technical level. I've been saying this since the beginning. The use of mirrors is extremely important in this entire series, apparently, because, you know, when you watch the first transformation of Arch, he's looking up at the, I want to say the trumpeter, maybe, or Virgil, or whoever it is. And it's a look into the kind of nature of the human condition and human being. So on that level, the episode does a really nice job with it, because, you know, even though it has to work with in the constraints of 1959 when it comes to the transformations, it actually does it in a smartly, somewhat cheap fashion where it can, you know, pan away and come back and it's a different person. And that's a really nifty kind of lo-fi trick to do. It's just when you try to propel it up against a story that has no real drive or plot device, it just makes everything feel haphazardly hampered by its own volition, I guess you could say, if that makes any sense.
If it wasn't for the fact that I know they originally wanted to do makeup on one guy, I would feel like somebody who is more of a technical filmmaker or interested in the technical side of things would have been like, I really want to do this thing where we switch a person seamlessly, you know, in camera. And I got this great idea how to do that. Can you build me an episode around that? And that's what they did. He's like, I got this great shot. Build me an episode around that. And this is what they gave him. Because that part was, I keep, whenever I think of this episode, that's what I think about, the part in the mirror. Because it wasn't just the camera pan like circles around or he like bends down and then comes up as somebody else. It was really well done. Like if it was in a movie nowadays, I would think it looked great now, because how it always had a part of him in frame. Yep. His hand or something like that. And I'm sure it was someone else's hand, but it was done very seamlessly. That was awesome. I think it was a fantastic camera work or camera trick, but that's it.
Yep.
And all the other changes were, and I'm okay with not every one of them being mind blowing, but all the other changes were camera cuts and somebody runs up on him. Oh, it's a different actor now. And I'm like, that's boring.
Well, I think you could, like you said, there is a story in the inner workings of this story where, I mean, you could do a segment with the woman and have it play out like a love story where, you know, maybe he plays different people that she knew or something like that, make it a little more cohesive, or do the gangster thing, or even do the father thing, you know, do have something kind of mixed. But they're almost like they're putting like 4 stories in one in here. And they're just kind of, they're so small segments that they just kind of doesn't cohese very well. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not.
Would you say that all 4 of those storylines are dying?
I do think, and you saying that, and my thoughts on this, if they had made it something along, because I did think when he comes out of the bar and he starts thinking about the girl, it seems like, oh, because he says, I've never been able to have this, somebody care for me like that. Seems like he's planning on taking on this trumpeter's identity, at least somewhat permanently, and going off of this woman and trying to have it. He's looking for peace. He's looking for solace. He's looking for something he hasn't earned, essentially, but he's looking for that. So I think it would have been neat if it was the same basic story, but maybe if they had constructed in a way that maybe he gets with this girl. Maybe he's not in love with her, but he's in love with the idea. She is already in love with him. And then maybe instead of the dad, there's another person that she shows up again. That would have been nice to see her come back, bring that first part back. And he's someone that she would be inclined to shoot. So in the end, she shoots him. So he gets shot by the person that he was trying. I don't know, some type of dynamic. That dynamic for Twilight Zone, that ironic twist of fate, just that is good for all anthologies, and especially the Twilight Zone. It's just not there. I mean, I guess the dad shooting the son, but it wasn't really the son, and that's what got him because he picked that fate. Okay, but that's just not what we've come to expect with the Twilight Zone.
It didn't feel like anything with the father. Like it, and obviously, you know, there's a lot. If from the perspective of the story, there's a lot of emotion that goes into that part. But I know you have to take it with a grain of salt, but I had such a hard time believing any part of that. It was just like, okay, dude's yelling at this guy that's his kid, etc., blah, blah, blah. It just kind of like glazed over. The second half of this episode just And I know that you guys, it was kind of lost in you throughout the entire thing, but the second half just did it in. It's like, oh, well, he got shot. Okay, woohoo. End credits, please, you know?
And he's shot by his dad. I mean, not to say that there's shitty parents out there, but this dad was showing when we first saw him that hey, son, you screwed up a lot and you did some terrible things, but you got the feeling that he still cared for his kid. And he's like, where have you been? He's like sad and everything. And next scene, he blows him away. I'm like, parenting doesn't quite work like that, but okay. I mean, I can say that. I don't think I'd ever shoot one of my kids. I've thought about it probably, but don't know. I'm just playing. But I mean, my kids have pissed me off before. I ain't even going to shoot them.
Not yet, at least.
The funny kind of thing that would actually be kind of interesting is, what if one of these characters that he is around is like, maybe he's on the run from somebody and because he's a con man, but what if somebody else has the same ability as there's an underlying message to what this purpose of his like changing of faces is, which I don't understand what it is, but what if somebody kills him at the end and it happens to be another shapeshifter or whatever, and it just kind of a story about a guy who's trying to run away from doing what he did and ends up being killed by another person that can do exactly what he did, and that person's a comment or something like that. I don't know where I'm going with that, but there's something here that I'm missing when it comes to actually what this story is representing. So
I think it's ultimately that like with the woman, he's looking for something. He's looking for peace. He's looking for a place. He's looking for something he doesn't have. But instead of getting it the right way, the honest way, the way you're supposed to, the way that makes it meaningful, he just wants to jump into the good parts. He wants to go straight to it and bypass everything. He wants to con his way into it. And no matter, even though he has this great gift, he can't con himself into that. Yeah. He's just going to come and
wants his cake and eat it too.
Backfire on him.
Mm-hmm. Do you think so? This is, and just thinking about it now. So like he has the suitcases. I feel like he maybe just got out of jail or just had something, like maybe he just dodged getting shot or something like that. He goes to the hotel. He's got this plan. He's got the newspaper clippings. He's like, okay, the things that I want out of this life, I want someone that will love me. Okay, here's a guy that had a dedicated girl. Okay, got that. I'm going to take the money from this other guy. Okay, got that. I got the two things I need to make it. I got a girl and I got money. Do you feel like that's kind of like he had his sights set on goals, but they were so far ahead of what like any reasoning?
Well, yeah, but there were also other pictures there. So I feel like he had a plan of sorts, or maybe it was just a bunch of marks. It was just, hey, here's some people. I'll go down the list. We just never we saw clippings, if I remember correctly. Weren't there other faces?
There were other I'm not sure if they were other faces or if they were the same guy, like same couple of guys. I didn't take a closer look.
Maybe here's what I think maybe what they're going for, and you guys may have just said this because I may have misheard it. What if he impersonates Johnny Foster to get the woman? He impersonates the gangster to get the money, and kind of messes up because he's not a very smart man, and that's when the people chase after him, and maybe that's his whole initial goal, and that's why he trying to get with the girl at the beginning. Which I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, I think so.
That's the other thing about this thing is trying to figure. We're sitting here trying to figure out.
Yeah, I know
what it was about. I don't even think it knew what it was about. That's the problem. I don't think the show, and the original story by George Clayton Johnson. Who knows? Maybe it had these things we're saying are missing. But this one, when they made this, it was lacking everything, including meaning. And I don't need deep philosophical meaning behind everything that I see. But when there's nothing else, I'm going to look at that as a miss. So, I mean, there's just nothing that I gained from this episode except knowing that I never want to watch it again.
Yeah, I think I'm just trying to put more into it than what's actually truthful about it. So
yeah.
And they're probably, now that being me saying that, I think that the people who made this were probably like, yeah, it means this and that and yada, yada, yada. But they did not do a good job of conveying that.
No, Agreed.
Okay, so with that said, the episode's over, thank God, and we're gonna go into closing narration, which I'll throw it back to Jacob here to read off.
All right. Well, before that, I did want to say,
Okay. Yep.
nobody cares about this except for me, only because I know the area. Harry Towns, the guy who played the actual Archhammer, his real face. That guy, he was apparently born in Huntsville, Alabama, which is not far from where I live now. I am aware. I know that area
Cool.
decently enough, but better yet, what else is in Huntsville, Alabama, is the actual space camp that was also in the movie Space Camp, and I've been to Space Camp.
Oh, cool.
So pretty cool place. He also went to, I don't know why I was trying to find something interesting to talk about this fucking episode, but he went to UA, the University of Alabama, the
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide and all that, which is where my daughter is right now.
Cool.
My oldest daughter. So hey,
Nice.
that's about as interesting. That's about all the interesting shit I could find.
Real
Yeah,
quick,
shoot.
one more thing, and this just came up in my
Please,
mind.
give us
So
something.
all of the neon. So the way that the neon was everywhere, and I know that they that's a popular thing to do at that time, where like you walk down a road and you're surrounded by neon and it's temptation and all that stuff.
Yeah.
What to you guys, what was that supposed to be? Obviously the hotel was called Hotel Real, and that was, where
It's
he
from
was.
something else I read. It's from another movie or show. That was a
Possibly.
prop that was in some other more popular movie.
Right, but the neon itself, like what do you think the reasoning was behind that specific like design choice?
I think it's an aesthetic. I think it's this guy is obsessed with lights and glitz and gamma.
That's a gamma
Gra-
ray.
Gamma!
yeah,
It's a friend to
With
all
the li-
children.
the lights and glitzing, whatever that other word is. I just
Glamour?
think that thank you. I think it's just an aesthetic choice. I don't think there's really
Okay.
much to it. That's just me, but
Well, I mean, I like that aesthetic choice, but it was not enough to save the episode.
No, agreed.
Definitely not. And
I wonder what we thought of this episode.
Jeff agrees. um,
Jeff, you like it?
you like it, Jeff? No, I don't. I did not care. I blinked during this episode.
Yeah.
Anyway, closing narration. All right.
Closing narration.
Thank God it is shorter than the opening.
That's not takes much. I mean, you could
I
have
know, right?
yeah.
You'd have 3 paragraphs would be shorter. He was Archhammer, a cheap little man who just checked in. He was Johnny Foster, who played a trumpet and was loved beyond words. He was Virgil Steering, with money in his pocket. He was Andy Marshak, who got some of his glory back on a sidewalk in front of a cheap hotel. Hammer, Foster, Steering, Marshak, and all 4 of them are dying, but not in the Twilight Zone.
Oh, Rod
Man, they
Serling
even
is
hate-
going to haunt your ass.
They even hate the episode enough to not even put it in the Twilight Zone.
Well, they also did that to Jezebel, which makes sense
Hmm.
because that's a terrible episode too.
I've never seen that. I have seen
Oh
it, but I
my
don't
God.
remember it.
Ugh. Blah.
He literally could have done the opening narration and closing narration and just be done with the episode, and it would have been perfect. It literally tells you
It would have
everything.
been better.
Yeah.
So as we've talked about, I would usually ask you at this point, what do you guys thought of the whole entire episode? I think we've given our thoughts. What's up?
Didn't you want to? I thought you were going into how this is or did you guys say it? This is the only episode. Well, this is one of the only episodes that doesn't use the words in the Twilight Zone in the
Yeah.
closing narration.
Yeah, Nick mentioned
Did we talk
it.
about that? Oh, sorry.
No,
It's okay.
I
was listening,
mentioned
I
it, but
promised.
I don't know if there's an actual reason for it. If he just got lazy and forgot about it, or
It's an
I don't know
episode
about
to throw away
reasoning. I don't know about reasoning, but I know that it's the first of only 5 episodes to exclude the in the Twilight Zone in the closing narration.
Ooh.
So there's 4 more coming.
Oh God, do they get better or worse?
I don't know. It listed them. I didn't want to type anymore. I just typed that. I was kind of over this episode, including everything to do with it.
So, how do you really feel about this one, Jacob?
It's so good.
best episode ever.
Yeah.
So as we know, there's 36 episodes in this first season. There's 156 episodes. Unfortunately, not all of them are going to be good. I think Rod Serling, even 13 episodes in, is starting to get a little down on himself when it comes to writing. Because writing sucks a lot of times when you are trying to come up with words or trying to come up with episodes. And when you have 36 episodes to do in a season, you're going to get some stinkers, unfortunately, as we've seen with like 60mm Shrine.
Well, he came up with a lot of words in the opening narration.
He came up, yeah.
Exactly.
But and even the best of episodes, the best of seasons is going to have some just filler episodes, some things that are stinkers, and I can't think of one single series that doesn't have that in some way, shape, or form. So.
Battlestar Galactica.
Have not watched it.
Come at me, I dare you.
I'm not gonna come at you. I can't move my arms. Remember, you bitch.
It's an amazing show.
Like the whole entire series, or just was it like second season or whatever?
Battlestar Galactica. The whole season the whole show is amazing. The new one, not the old one. The old one was no. 2003 one.
Starbucks.
So outside of like the rarity, there is especially when you're doing an anthology series, there's definitely going to be a few of those that are really bad. I mean, we still have to do Mr. Beavis and Mighty Casey in the first season, so we're good times.
I remember Mr. Beavis just because of the name.
yeah.
I think that had Dick York in it, if I remember right. If he played Mr. Beavis,
he's a dick. He's also
oh no, Orson Bean.
Yeah. He said Bean. Yeah. He said Orson. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need Orson for my dick.
Oh, my God.
I snorted.
So with that said, that's going to be where we end this shit show that is this episode. We'll go into the Twilight Zone list real quick. Walking Distance number 1, 12 is a 60mm Shrine. Whether or not I've edited our chaotic nature that we just went through with Beavis and Butthead, are we putting this at the bottom?
Yeah.
These
four are dying is definitely a bottom. Yeah.
Oh my God. So the four of us are dying. After everything we talked about, we are definitely putting this at the bottom.
Yes.
Yes.
Which I didn't think would happen so quickly, but so with that said, Walking Distance will be number 1 as usual for the time being. Four of Us Are Dying is now number 13 at the bottom. And
that is a very apt number for this.
Exactly.
4 of us are dying to be bottoms. Yeah.
But the next episode we're going to talk about is a much better episode. It's called Third from the Sun, which I actually really enjoy. I remember very, very well. But it's directed by Richard Bear, written by Rod Serling.
It's got Jason Gordon-Levitt in it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Some John Lithgow.
Yeah.
I think Alf's in the show too at some point. Nice. I can't remember which, but
Alf and 7 stomachs.
But it's based off of it's based off of Richard Matheson's story. So with that said, let's go ahead and head out before we lose time. But anyways, that'll do it. That'll be our take on this episode, which is the Four of Us Are Dying.
The 3 of us are dying. 2 of us.
Yeah, apparently. Jacob, once again, awesome to have you come on as usual. Where can they find you if they want to reach you?
YouTube at Jacob Anders Reviews. That's it. And Twitter at Red Neville 2. Yeah, I think it's something like
Red
that.
Neville 2. Yeah.
This Neville's red.
It's Neville's really red.
But go there for movie reviews and all that stuff, daily reviews of weird shit and shit you may or may not have heard of. Thanks.
And Beavis or Butthead, where can they find your content?
You can locate me. Sorry. You can find me on YouTube at Trivial Theater. I just did a really off the wall collab on a movie called White Glove Massive. Definitely check it out because it is just
You said massive.
I did say massive. Yeah, I also said glove. Yeah. Anyway, you can also find me on Twitter at trivia_chick.
Awesome. And real quick, you can find me at Movie Emporium on Twitter, Movie Emporium on YouTube. Thankfully my computer is working at this point, so that's nice. But with that said, let's get the hell out of here because we are losing it one and all after this stupid ass episode, and apparently Beavis and Butthead are going to be what we talk about next. So anyways,
we all need TP for our bungholes.
Exactly. So we'll see you guys on the next episode. Peace out. With that said,
I feel like I'm 14 again, running around talking like Beavis and Butthead.
As Triv is going to die of laughter.
Was I the only one? We ran around just like